Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. Today, we're going to talk about astral scams and some cults, but we're going to infuse this episode with some humor. There's a lot of seriousness going on right now in the world, and my goodness. But also, some of the videos recently have been very serious. So I think from time to time, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of fun while learning about important information. So we're going to talk about things like astral amulets, magic stones, magic spells and charms, 100% guaranteed astral projection classes, lessons, books. We'll talk a little bit about teachers and the whole ascended master thing, and we'll talk about some groups that people have called cults that are involved with astral projection. So let's start it off with a Reddit post that I saw this past week, which attracted my attention. It was posted by a novice astral projector called Con of Nothing. What happened was he received a Reddit message saying that someone had met and talked with him on the astral plane, and that he, Khan, had lost lucidity somewhere in the middle of this conversation, and so that they were now contacting him because he happened to tell them his Reddit handle. Although I don't know about you, when I introduce myself, I don't usually introduce myself by my Reddit handle, but there you go. So he was asking the question, is this a scam? Is this genuine? What the deal is? You know, I pretty much I said that you should be very careful. I said if this person starts asking for money, you should agree and tell them you're going to send it by the Astral Western Union, and that they should wait on that. But that was kind of funny, but it got me thinking about something that happened to me about a year ago, and it's a little embarrassing. I haven't told anyone yet, not even my wife. So I figured, well, if I'm gonna, come out about it now, I might as well do it in front of my audience, and I hope you don't, lose respect for me. Anyway, I was about a year ago, and I was just flying around space doing some exploration. I didn't think anything of it, and then about a week after that, I received a message, and it was to Morgoth 37, which happens to be my Reddit title, and it said from the Galactic Astral Police Department. So as soon as I said that, as soon as I saw Astral Police Department, I said, "Oh fudge!" Only I didn't say fudge. On March 15th, 2019 Earth time, you were clocked going 10 times the speed of light in an alien school zone with a strict 5 times light speed limit while the dwarf star is blinking. A galactic court date will be set for you within 30 podarcs, or you may plead guilty and pay a fine of 3,000 schmeckles. Well, my first question, of course, was where the heck am I going to get 3,000 schmeckles in this economy? My second question was, what the is a schmeckle? So I decided I'll go to court. Well, I ended up going to court and it was a disaster. My lawyer didn't show because she was molting. So I got declared guilty, and now I've got 100 show-longs of Galactic Community Service. They've got me cleaning up spoiled loosh on the side of Intergalactic Highway 95 billion. So there you go. That's my little shameful story. So I hope you haven't lost faith in me. But let's get to some actual scams out there, and let's learn about what we need to deal with. Because if this channel teaches anything, it's that astral projection is something that requires a certain amount of effort, a certain amount of commitment to achieve and to improve, and that there just aren't a lot of shortcuts, despite the fact that we humans love shortcuts. Now, eBay is always a good way to find out examples of scams. It's gotten better over the years, but there's still some interesting stuff there. So let's take a look at it, at one of them. Well, there is the Nirvana Meditation Astral Projection 7-inch ritual spell candle. Now, this isn't just any candle, though. This is charged and anointed. Okay? This wonderful ritual tool for meditation and astral projection, the Nirvana Ritual Candle, has been charged with energy, anointed with oil, okay? Anointed with oil, and inscribed with Theban runes. Theban runes. Wow. To help you reach a stage of enlightenment. Now, you might think, wow, I mean, what's that going to go for, right? You're never going to be able to afford that. Well, $99.99, which I think is a heck of a deal, especially when it's anointed with oil and Theban runes. What are Theban runes? I don't know. Sounds fancy, though. Okay, number 2 is the Book of Shadows, Spell Pages, Astral Projection, Wicca Witchcraft. Well, this is a small booklet. It's got astral projection spells and protection pentagrams. And now this is only for $3.49, which I think is a heck of a deal. I remember, this was years and years ago. Sometime in the 80s, I was looking for astral projection books, and there was one by Llewellyn, which always was a big publisher of metaphysical, witchy type of books. And I remember I was looking through this one book, and I think I even bought it. I don't know what I did with it. And they said that you should never astral project unless you've gone through all these spells, you anointed yourself with various holy aromas and oils, and then drew a 6-foot pentacle on the floor with chalk or something like that, I guess, and then sleep inside that pentacle for protection. I remember looking at that and said, wow, if I need all of this to astral project, I'm never going to astral project, because that seemed like way too much work. But let's go on to the next one. I mean, let's say you're more into jewelry, okay? And there's the Astral Moonstone Pendant. Now this goes for $48.65. And you might think, whoa, that's a lot for an Astral Moonstone Pendant. Well, hold on for a second, okay? Because this isn't your usual Astral Moonstone Pendant. This pendant is being offered by the Sisters of the North. And this offering is there's a spell cast on it that endows the wearer with the ability to do out-of-the-body travel. And now you might think, well, wait a minute, how many of the cult or how many of the coven actually cast spells on it, though? I mean, because this is $48.65. You don't want just like 1 or 2 of the witches to cast spells. Well, hold on for a second. All 13 coven members, okay, all 13 cast spells on this. So that's where the $48.65 is going. So anyway, they go on to say that this pendant allows you to unlock the astral abilities in a safe manner, and that when you have this pendant, you only have a limited chance of becoming stranded or trapped in or between the realms. Well, my goodness, for only $48, I definitely would want to limit my chances of becoming trapped in or between the realms. Next up, we've got $53.65 worth, or about $43.70 in British pounds, the Astral Magic 1 Alejandro Virgilio Spells Occult Magic Witchcraft Projection. Well, this particular book is carefully written. Okay, that's what it says, carefully written. Because you don't want to pay all that money for a book that's not carefully written. I mean, what if it's just all over the place? And it's for people who are new to the practice of occultism and are new to astral projection. And good old Virgilio here, he's got the key, the effective key. Within the pages of this remarkable book, you'll discover what the astral realms are, how to access them, and how to make them work for you. With the aid of this title, you'll suddenly begin to find that all of your occult practices will begin to yield results like you have never seen before. But if that wasn't enough, here with this book, you will find out how to construct your very own astral temple. I mean, astral projection's fine, but how do you build your astral temple on the astral plane, right? I mean, this book's got instructions, one step at a time, how to build your astral temple. Well, my goodness, if that isn't, $53 US or 43 pounds British, if that isn't well spent, then I don't know what is. Lastly, here we have the Astral Projection Traveler's Mantra. And then they throw on Orgone, Radionics, Reiki, Crystal, Rare. That's a heck of a word salad, isn't it? Okay, this one goes for $36. And the Astral Projection Traveler, which they like to abbreviate as APT, it consists of a piece of wood cut by a laser technique. So this just isn't somebody carving away at a piece of wood now. This is a laser technique. And it's in the form of a dragon, which is how I like my laser cut wood. I don't know about you. It's used as an anchor. And it's not, okay, but there's a lot more to it than that. Okay, you get a lot more than just a piece of wood. It's infused for 3 days with a mantra. And if anybody doesn't know what a mantra is, it's usually a word that has a certain vibration to it that you chant over and over again, and it has a certain metaphysical effect upon you. Anyway, it's infused for 3 days with a mantra or a mantra, specially designed for this experience. So it's not any mantra, okay? It's specially designed. And then it goes through the Bioorgone Atman chamber. Wow. That sounds impressive. What is the Bioorgone Atman chamber? Well, the Bioorgone Atman chamber is a radionics machine with a huge infusion capacity. Not small or medium. This one's got huge infusion capacity. And it incorporates both the modern and the occult. And what more could you ask for? Each piece is infused for a certain amount of time, depending on its capacity and the set of mantras chosen. I mean, you can only put so much of this energy into a certain size piece of wood when you've already got mantras squeezed in there. Okay, so, I mean, I guess that makes sense. Now, this takes place at a particular time of the month, while taking into account the most suited astrological, time to do this type of action. So there's a lot of things that went into this. I mean, this isn't just, there's a science to this. Anyway, once they go through all this and it becomes yours for that bargain price, you got to put it in the sunlight for 2 days. Then on day 3, you have to customize it with a drop of your blood. And after all, what magic is magic unless you're putting blood on it? I mean, that's what makes it real, if you're asking me. And then all you have to do is just hold on tight and get ready for your experience. Now, I guess what's especially good about this is that even though they're only charging you $36, in this eBay page, it had MSRP, the manufacturer suggested price, of $109. So you are saving a ton of money with this particular, magic astral piece of wood. So those are hopefully some of these slightly funny but serious items that you can find on eBay. I mean, I just went on eBay, put in astral and put in a mixture of other words and came up with those things and just found them amusing. But every one of them had been bought before. So there's people out there spending perfectly good money to buy that kind of trash. So, let's be smarter than that. Okay, let's look at lessons. Let's look at books and music videos. But let's look specifically at things that claim to be 100% guaranteed, because that's my biggest concern. I used to teach weekend seminars at metaphysical centers. I used to do private lessons, and it was a lot of fun. And we had a lot of students, and people, learned a lot and were really appreciative. But in every private lesson I had, in every weekend seminar or what have you, I always had 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. I did that because I wanted to make sure that people got what they thought they were paying for, and that I wasn't going to sit there and look like some sort of a ripoff or a scam artist. Now, keep in mind that I never offered a 100% guarantee. Astral projection is not like changing your oil. If you give me 10 people of average intelligence and you tell me, show them how to change the oil in their car, I can do so within a period of time, and every one of them will be able to change their oil because it's a relatively simple mechanical task. Astral projection, though, is different. You can go through the same material with people, give them the same help. One guy will astral project that day, the other one next week, the one after that next month. One might take a year. Some people, luckily a smaller percentage, but some people never happen to make it happen. What is exactly the X factor? I'm not sure. But when I give my classes, when I used to do them, maybe I'll do them again sometime in the future. It was fun. We would go to metaphysical centers or sometimes hotels, or I would do some private lessons. It was a lot of fun. But I never guaranteed anything, and I always said, look, yes, for money back, you will get it. I only ever had one person who requested their money back. I remember he was a rabbi from New York City, and my personal lessons were usually about 3 hours in length. He had a ton of questions, so I went about 5 hours with him, and he left. Seemed like he was happy. About 4 or 5 months later or so, I got a letter with a simple request for a refund. That's fine. I had a no questions asked policy. We went ahead, cut him a check, and sent it to him, and that was it. Because that's something that I've always lived by. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who are offering, especially that guaranteed stuff. Take my class and you'll be guaranteed astral project, or buy this, this DVD or this CD or whatever, and you'll astral project for sure, or this book or this lesson. There is no such thing as 100% guaranteed astral projection method. I can tell you that with 100% assurance. So don't fall for it. My next little pet peeve is with the term ascended masters and masters. Every now and again, and I'll explain a bit more about this in a minute. Every now and again, someone will refer to me in the comments or whatever. Oh, you're an astral master. Whether they're serious or whether they're not doesn't really matter. But I go out of my way to set them straight immediately because I dislike the term immensely. I don't believe in spiritual masters. If we are here on earth, we are all basically in the same class. The differences between us are minute. Do I have a few more experiences than some of the folks listening to this right now? Sure, and that's why I'm sharing them with you. But I can tell you right now, if you're listening to this, it means that we're pretty much on the same spiritual level. If there was certain numbers that graded levels, let's say I was a 3.113. You might be a 3.112.5. That's how close we all are together. There's no masters. I dislike the term. And let's face it, in U.S. history, the term master has almost never turned out good anyway. And this kind of leads me into the cult end of things. I remember when I was in college, I saw posters for Eckankar at my college. So I went there to attend a class or two, and I did because they were selling. They were big on astral projection. I think they still are. So that's what attracted me because there weren't a lot of groups, anybody talking about astral projection. So I went there and I listened to their whole spiel, and they had some interesting teachings about the soul and all the rest of this kind of stuff. They believe that the soul or the true self can separate from the physical body and in full consciousness travel freely. And I certainly believe that myself because I've been doing it for a while. They emphasize your personal spiritual experience as the most natural way back to God, and I could see that would be okay. And they said these are attuned via soul traveling that shifts the awareness from the body to the inner planes of existence, and that all sounds fine. But then he started talking about an Ek master, and that's immediately turned me off because that means somebody is being put on a pedestal. And when you start putting people on pedestals, then they start making pronouncements. And if you consider them a master and you are the lowly student, then you're going to listen to them. You're going to do what they ask you or tell you to do. And that's where the trouble starts, which is when I separated myself from that particular group. But there's others as well. So many out there today. So many metaphysical groups, so many religious groups, which in and of themselves are fine until they wander into culty type territory. So I found a book by somebody who was an Eckankar for like a couple decades. And they noticed some symptoms that they saw in Eckankar that showed that it was very high control cult. And I looked through it, and I want to go through it now, even though you might say, well, this whole cult thing's a little off base, Rick. But you know what? It's being used right now for people to form metaphysical and religious cults. And I'm sure there's somebody out there right now with an astral cult doing these very same things. And there's people like Scientology. And if you've watched Leah Remini and Scientology, The Aftermath, you'll know. I mean, Scientology is another group that claims you can do out of the body travel. I think it's important for us all to be aware of what makes a group a cult and how to recognize it. And let me say right here, cults are not for stupid people. I'll say that again. Cults are not for stupid people. Everyone, for the most part, is vulnerable to a cult. Number one, because nobody advertises their group as a cult, and there's usually attractive things about the group. Number two, I've only thought about, and I've done a lot of research on this particular area, there's only one type of person who is immune, in my experience, to a cult or a cult influence. And that is someone of lower intelligence, someone who has no desire to improve themselves or learn anything new, and has no desire to help anyone else. That is the only person who is 100% immune. So, what's the best way to protect yourself? Knowledge. And let me get into that. Now, the guy who was involved in Eckankar was referring to information that he got from a Robert Lifton, who wrote The Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism, a study of brainwashing in China. And that was published all the way back by Lifton in 1961. And there's been much more modern studies now. But I think you'll find that these high control groups all sing from the same songbook. They all use the same playbook. So he used this to help outline his Eckankar experience. So here are some of the things that you should look for in any type of group, religious, metaphysical, astral, or other, to make sure that you're not falling yourself into a cult. Number one, the cult leader leadership has absolute knowledge, insight, or spiritual power, indisputable and essential for survival. One's essential identity is defined by the cult leader, usually in terms of lifelong symbiotic ties. In Scientology, the Sea Org is a paramilitary group that runs Scientology. They asked them to sign a billion-year contract. Yes, you heard that right. a billion-year contract, which means time and time again they have to come back and serve Scientology. One's personal history before the group is insignificant. They may also change your identity, give you a new name, which is your new cult name, which separates you further. They'll ask you to separate yourself from the non-believers, from your family. They'll want to control what you wear, what you think, the people you associate with, control your emotions. They'll probably want you to start reporting unorthodox thoughts that you or others have, that you've witnessed others do. This is a big one right here. If you leave the cult, something disastrous is going to happen. If you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, you're going to be shunned. If you leave Scientology, they can disconnect from you. So all your friends, all your family, everybody associated with this group will suddenly now treat you like you're dead. Leaving the cult is an act of betrayal and disloyalty to the leader. Look, I was a member of the Lutheran Church in my hometown as a kid, and then I went to college, and I decided it wasn't for me. So I decided to not be a member anymore. And everyone was like, okay, well, have a good life. See you on the rebound. No big deal. Cults act a little bit differently, though. If you pursue a goal that's independent of the espoused goals of the cult, you will be criticized. The needs of the cult leader always come first. Everything else is second. They may ask you to do chanting or contemplating or praying or other types of activities that block out thought. In some cults where you actually live there, they'll even limit your sleep, which they'll make it as little as possible. And they'll give you a lot of carbohydrates without a lot of protein. We found out that prisoners of war, when subjected to this during the Korean War, their minds were much more pliable to their Chinese and North Korean captors when they didn't have a proper diet with protein and they didn't get enough sleep. So that's another type of situation. These are just a few things that you should look for if you ever want to join a group about astral projection or anything else. Always keep that in mind. And for me, like I said before, remember, you are powerful. You may not be astral projecting yet, but you will be astral projecting. And yes, you're listening to me right now, but guess what? You and I are very much the same. If we weren't, we wouldn't be together right now. We wouldn't be talking, and we wouldn't be interested in the same topic. So if you've got questions or comments, please ask them. I'll do my best to answer them. If you liked this particular episode, please like it, share it if you wish, subscribe, and let's see each other again next week. And as always, I'm Rick, and I'll see you on the astral plane.